Hey class, welcome to week 7 of remote learning, right? This is our second to last week here. We are just gonna continue, keep on working here, learning as much as we can. Today we're gonna be solving quadratic equations by graphing, right? Last week we solved it by factoring, both with trinomials and GCFs. And this week we're gonna look at solving quadratic equations by graphing. And then later on this week we'll be simplifying radicals. All right, so we're going to start off with a little warm up here. All right, this is stuff we did last week. All right, so directions here for the warm up are to solve the following trinomials by factoring. All right, I will do warm up number 1. All right, and then I want you to pause the video and I want you guys to try the second one all the way through. All right, so this first one here, right, this is solving by factoring. We got x squared plus 6x plus 5 equals 0. Right, so here we want to find the factors of 5 that add to 6. Right, well, how many factors of 5 are just 1 and 5? Right, so that means, right, 1 plus 5 equals 6. So that means now that I'm ready to factor this as x plus 1 times x plus 5 is equal to 0. Right, so I went ahead and factored it. Now I'm ready to solve. Right, so now I can say that x plus 1 equals 0. And I will subtract 1 to both sides, and we get x is equal to -1 as one of my solutions. And then I can say that x plus 5 is equal to 0, and I subtract 5 on both sides there, and we get x is equal to -5. So that is my second solution here. All right, so like I said, I want you to pause the video, and I want you guys to factor and solve example number 2 here. All right, let's see how we did. Right, so here we want to find factors of 12 that add to 8. Factors of 12 are going to be 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And then my pair that adds to 8, right, is going to be 2 and 6. So that means now I'm ready to factor this as x plus 2 times x plus 6 is equal to 8. So now I'm ready to solve it as x plus 2 is equal to 0, right? This is using that zero product property. I subtract 2 to both sides, and we get x is equal to -2 as my one solution. And now I have x plus 6 is equal to 0, and I subtract 6 from both sides, and we get x is equal to -6 as my second solution. All right, so hopefully you're able to do that as well and get those same 2 solutions. All right, so now we're going to look at the graphs of a quadratic function or quadratic equation. All right, so the graphs of quadratic functions, right, x squared, right, the little 2 means it's a quadratic. They're called parabolas, all right, which are the shape of a U. All right, and we'll look at a couple of graphs here in a minute. Right, so parabolas are the shape of a U, and that's what we call a quadratic function, or the graphs of a quadratic function. The graphs, these are the graphs of the quadratic equations from the problems in the warm-up. All right, so look at this, right? We see our U shape here and a U shape here, right? So these 2 quadratic graphs or quadratic functions of the graph are the same as our warm-up problems here. All right, 1 goes with 1a and 2 goes with 2a. All right, so now we have to identify the x-intercepts of each of these graphs, right? And again, the x-intercepts is the point where it crosses the x-axis, right? You can kind of see they're already pointed there and there. All right, again, here's my x-axis, and it looks like those 2 spots there are going to be my x-intercepts. All right, so my first graph, right, my x-intercepts are at -5 and +1. Right, in my second graph here, my x-intercepts are at -6 and -2. Wait a second, those numbers look kind of familiar. Oh, look at my 2 solutions for number 1, right? X was -1 and -5. Oop. This should be a -1. Is what I meant to say. And then over here, right, we have a -2 and a -6, right, which were the same as my solutions for example 2. Huh, interesting. All right, so what relationship do you notice between the solutions in the warm-up and the x-intercepts from the graphs? Well, now that I corrected it, right, we should notice that they are the same. All right, so solutions, also known as zeros or roots, are also known as x-intercepts. All right, so all those words mean the same thing, right? Your x-intercepts is the same as your solutions, which are the same as your zeros, which are the same as your roots. All right, we can all use those words interchangeably here. All right, so now let's look at a couple more examples here. All right, so examples 3, 4, and 5, right? These are all quadratic graphs here, right? Because we have that distinct U shape here. All right, so now we're going to find the x-intercepts and then identify the solutions, all right, based on the graph. Well, if we look at example 3 here, right, we have an x-intercept right there, and we have another one right there, right? So I have two x-intercepts. One of them is at -1, and the other one's at +1, 2, 3. Right, so since those are my x-intercepts, that means my solutions are x is equal to -1 and x is equal to 3. All right, and example number 4 here, right? Here's my graph right there, but my graph does not cross my x-axis. All right, so if we have a graph that does not cross the x-axis, then we don't have an x-intercepts, right? There is none. Right, and if we don't have an x-intercept, that means we have no solution. All right, and then the last graph here, right, here's my U shape there. All right, and looks like I have my x-intercepts are right there and right there, right? So my x-intercepts are at +1, +2, 3, and +4, right? So my x-intercepts are at 2 and 4, which means my solutions are x equals 2 and x equals 4, right? So again, whatever x-intercept I have, that's going to be my solution or solutions, right? And if it doesn't cross the graph, then I have no solution. All right, so the next part here, all right, we're going to use a website called Desmos, all right? So graphing to solve a quadratic function, right? We look to see where the x-intercepts are, and that's going to be our solutions. Or we can do it with a calculator and actually graph these out and find the x-intercepts. All right, so that's what we're going to do here now. All right, we're going to graph the following equations, kind of following these steps. All right, we're going to go to this website, desmos.com. All right, it's also going to be in that week 7 Schoology folder as well. And then once we get there, you might want to bookmark it and save that for future use. All right, then we're going to type in the equation on the line, but we don't want to type in the equals 0 part, and I'll show you why when we get there. And then we're just simply going to hover the cursor over the points to find the x-intercepts. And then if we need to, we can zoom in and out to see the graph. All right, so the directions for these next 3 examples are to solve the following quadratic or polynomial equation using Desmos.com, and then we're going to write our solutions on the line. We also want to include an image of the graph using a screenshot or a similar tool. And I included a link here to show you how to do a screenshot on your Chromebooks if you don't know how to do one, okay? All right, so let's look at this Desmos.com website really fast here. All right, you should get something like this, right? And we want to start graphing. All right, so my first example here is x squared minus 11x plus 28 equals 0. All right, so I said x, and then to get the square part, all right, we're going to need to open up the keyboard here. All right, show keypad, and here it is. This little A2 is how you get squared, right? So x squared. All right, now we can use this minus button here, or you can use the minus on your keypad itself. All right, x squared minus 11x. All right, we can type these numbers here. You can type on your keyboard 11x plus 28. All right, and you can see the nice little U-shaped graph here, all right? And like I said, if we did put equals 0, right, we no longer have a U-shaped graph, right? We're just going to have these two lines here, all right? And I don't want two lines here, all right? So that's why we don't put that equals 0. I want to make this parabola a nice U shape here. All right. Again, if we zoom, we can zoom in and out with these buttons here, but and then we can always hit this home to kind of get back to our home screen here. And you can see here's our nice U-shaped graph. All right. And then you want to hover over your x-intercepts, right? And if you just hover over it, you kind of show it. And if you can click it once, it'll lock it in. At 4, is my one x-intercept, and 7 is my other x-intercept. All right, so I want you to go ahead and hover over and click these 2 points. All right, and now I want to make you guys take an image of this, right, using either a snipping tool or that screenshot tool to kind of take an image of this. All right, so you take your snipping tool and you can make a nice little image of that graph. All right, and then you get it. When you guys do this snipping tool in your Chromebook, it's going to save to your downloads folder. All right, so for you guys, you're going to have to like go in here. All right, we can type in our solutions or write it in. Right, we said our solutions were x equals 4 and x equals 7. All right, and then for you guys, you're going to want to insert this image into this document. Okay. All right, you can insert image, download your image, right? You'll be able to input your image into your document. All right, so like for me, right, I can just hit Control Paste, Control Copy. All right, so once you have your image, you want to go ahead and you might need to adjust the size a little bit, make it a little smaller, a little bit bigger. All right, kind of just toss it right underneath there. All right, so there's my graph, right? And when you click those points, you can see your two solutions of 4 and 7. So those are what your two solutions are going to be. All right, so let's try again with this next one. We get 2x squared plus 5x minus 7. All right, so now we can just hit this x to clear it out. And we can start typing in our new graph here, right? So we said 2x, again, squared is that little A2 button here, plus 5x plus 5x and minus 7. All right, again, don't put that equals 0 part because we want to see the U shape. And if we put that equals 0, it's just going to be 2 lines. All right, so here we're going to have to hide our keyboard. All right, and here I want to zoom out a little bit because I want to see this nice U shape here. All right, so that looks like a good image. All right, again, I'm going to hover over, click, hover over, and click. And now my two x-intercepts are there, right? X is at negative 3.5 and it's also at 1, right? So those are my two intercepts, which will also be my solutions. All right, so now I want you to take a snipping tool or a snapshot of this graph, right, including those 2 points. And preferably to get the bottom of this U here. All right. Again, once you do that, it's going to go into your downloads folder. So you're just going to have to insert that into this document. All right. And for me, I can just copy and paste it because I have that snipping tool. So if you know of a similar tool you can use, great, do that. Otherwise, just directly download it right into the document. All right. So now, right, my two solutions are going to be x is equal to negative 3.5 and x is equal to 1. All right, and I got one more graph here. We got 3x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. All right, that's my quadratic equation. 3x squared. Again, I got to hit this keyboard, hit A2. 3x squared plus 2x plus 1. All right, so I'm going to hide that keyboard now. All right, and there's my graph, but oh, my graph does not cross that x-axis here. Huh. All right, so again, if it doesn't cross, I don't have an x-intercept. If I don't have an x-intercept, I don't have a solution. All right, but again, I want you to take an image of this. All right, so use that snapshot tool, snipping tool, and take a picture, an image of this graph. All right, and I want you to include that. For your notes, you don't have to do it, but when we do the homework worksheet, right, I want you guys to include the graphs for these. All right, if you guys are having troubles with the graph, email me, let me know, and I can kind of walk you through some of the steps here. All right, so here, right, since I don't have any x-intercepts, I can say solution. Awesome. Hopefully that made sense. If not, like I said, shoot me an email and I'll get back to you. And now I want you guys to practice solving quadratic equations by graphing. All right, and I want you to go ahead and use that Desmos website, highlight your x-intercepts, and that'll lead you to your solutions.